In this movie, we're going to learn a couple cool tricks and ways that you can create all sorts of busy motion with relatively little effort. We need some traffic for our frog to look through based on the storyboard, and it needs to look fast and overwhelming and abundant. So we're going to use some of the cool tools, including the Actions palette, and then we'll invoke a special feature we haven't taken a look at called Motion Blur, and you'll see how that plays an important role in what we're doing. First, let me go ahead and create a vehicle for us. I'm going to work on a truck. So let me draw that. I'll create some wheel wells, and size really isn't a big deal here because I can rescale this when I import it into our frog animation. I am creating this as a separate asset, just like the frog is, so we can include this in the other animations that make up the entire series. Now this is a rather disgusting looking truck frame, and I know that, so let me sharpen those. Come back to my selection tools here, and we're going to round some of these up. Let me smooth that out, and likewise I need to make the wheel wells just a little bit bigger. A for add, we'll add a point. T for translate, we'll move this to where we want it. Then we'll just even this out. Now we're not going to need a whole bunch of detail in this because it'll barely be on screen, but it's going to be on screen over and over. So we want just enough detail that it doesn't look out of place when compared to our actual frog. It can be slightly comical because that's the nature of what we're working on. I'll create some wheels. Shift click to constrain those. T, let me move it around just a little bit. I'm going to copy and paste, and then I'm going to scale this center one so that it becomes right at the center of the wheel. G, I will select that. Q to select the shape, and because it's a wheel, I'll want it near black, and select OK. G to select this shape, and shift click to select that. Scale, and then we'll rotate, keyboard shortcut R, to give a little sense of speed to this. I'm going to copy both those, paste them, and there's our second wheel already. I'll select the top part of this truck, keyboard shortcut Q. I want to give this an aggressive color, something more like a dark red that will be visible. Perfect. Rectangle, I want to have like a refrigerator type of truck here. Well, that's circle, so let me not do that. Come over here and grab my rectangle tool. Allow that hanging over the back end just a little bit. Command D or Control D so I can go ahead and create a random line width, and I'll accept that just as it is. Let me change my display qualities here real quick, just so we see a little more of what's going on. Now I'm going to create the windows using the Add tool. Get these bulbous windows, we'll tighten up. Really fast process to do this type of work in Animation Studio Pro, which is great. That's why we do this. Q, let me turn that to a light blue like a window. Let me select it first. And then I'll even that up just a little bit. Now we're ready for the fun stuff. Really quick to get this into motion. So let's take a look at it. I'm going to back out. We've been drawing this at timeline 0. Now this is why we create actions where we can have the center of the layer in one spot and then change the shapes all the way around it. With the selection tool G highlighted, I'll select everything on the page. I'll switch to T to translate it. I'm going to click, hold the Shift key, and move it to the right off the screen quite a ways. We're still at 0 time frame. Now comes the action. Windows, Actions. Mine pops up off the screen a little bit. And we're going to create a new action. And the reason we're doing this here is because the truck will import with the action, which is going to save us a little bit of time. So the action name for this is going to be truck right to left. And select OK. Our timeline changes color. We know we're in the actions mode right now. I advance the time scrubber to frame 1. hit the translation key for this. Click anywhere in the frame and we get our keyframes right here. Let me move my actions palette off to the side. I will advance to 24, which is 1 second. And here's a little trick. We don't want a pattern to show up in our cars. So you can actually create some prime numbers, for example 13, or any of those numbers that never create a pattern when added together because they're irregular. So something like 23 works as well. I'll move the time slider to 23. I'm going to click on my truck and shift click it to the other side of the screen. This is going to give me a fairly large animation that I can scale the layer to so that I don't have to worry about the truck running on and off the page. Last step, I'll select the keyframe there, change it to cycle. We want it to go absolute back to the exact frame. Select OK. And now when we scrub this, we get a truck that keeps repeating. In our next movie, we'll go ahead and put in some motion blur and finish off this effect.